they, because we used to have, when we would do closings, there were computers, there wasn't fax machines,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Girls had 27 girls. on
Okay, I did go back and forth with Patty about the prescriptive easement. There is no deed of easement
Every month.
in place at the moment.
Harold would call us.
But
Anything, you need to go ready to check out of the account, give it to Gerard. and send
hold on a
that.
second here.
But $18
Trying to get
million.
my shit together.
Andy Learn.
Join the meeting.
Yeah, let's go meeting to order.
Megan Cohen.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Start off with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. So we've got our Thursday, February 15th workshop meeting. As always, we know the front and back. We'll leave there. If there's an emergency in here, we'll go out to the sidewalk across the street, so we know everybody's there and safe. I would ask if everybody could shut their cell phones off or way down so that we don't have any interruptions with the phones. And if we could just give the Zoom people on Zoom a little time due to the lag in the Wi-Fi, and we don't crush their thoughts or whatever their concerns are too. The first thing is the minutes will approve next week for January 18th and January 25th, 2024. First thing on the agenda is the zoning board referrals. You have Trevor Depew. Am I saying his name right? Correct? Okay. And Dave, I'm going to ask staff, you got anything to speak to on this property?
Of course I do.
Of course you do.
Patty Brooks is the applicant's representative. What's the screen on?
No. And Patty, if you'd like, you can come up and speak on his behalf. I'm sorry, both of you.
Oh, no, yeah, well,
Either
we'll let
way.
Dave's got the microphone right now, we'll let him keep going.
Thanks.
Sarah, keep me in touch with the agenda if you don't want to.
She will. This is a lot of Falcon Drive. It's part of the Pleasant View subdivision. An email went around today about previous maps possibly restricting subdivision. That does not exist. I went all the way back to the beginning when the farmer who owned this property, Mr. Simica, first started it. There's nothing on it about forbidding other subdivision. This is the new, this is the old map, right, Patty? Is this? We're doing that?
No, that's the old one.
This is the old map.
Yep.
So originally, the applicant went to the zoning board with this map, which, so right now the lot is the blue line, the Patty does. It's a 10-acre lot, and the gentleman who owns the primary lot wanted to subdivide a lot off for his brother. There was some neighbor opposition. The zoning board reviewed it and denied the variance. They've since amended their application and are now back before the zoning board. And this is the new map. And what I'm going to do, because Patty's good this way, since she scales her maps well, I can go back and forth and show you the change relatively quickly as to what's changed. The primary one is that the homeowner in this lot in the front was worried about buffering, right? So very concerned about where the original house was located and how close the septic fields were. And what I'll do is I'll zoom in here a little bit so we can see. It was very close, right? So all these trees would have had to come out. In the new map, again, I got to zoom in here. Much more distance, right? 50-foot setback. This is already treed. It's been treed forever. Most of the lot is treed, except where you see the green lines. The house has been moved back and further away. So it sort of takes that whole discussion as to visual impact out of the equation, I think. This is something I recommended to the board consider at the last zoning board meeting when they denied, but they went a different road. So it'll be a shared driveway coming out to T. Now this is a drive. The driveway will be shared by both lots. I have no reservations about the application at the ZBA level, and I have no comments, no negative comment about it here. Full disclosure, this SOB bought the lot that I wanted, but because it's a beautiful lot, it's really the nicest lot out of the whole subdivision, and I think this is a good solution to allow him to carve off a lot for a family member.
Yeah, right now, just to expand on that.
I had to go to the table for the mic.
Mike.
Yeah, otherwise I can't record it.
And we want to throw
Thank you.
that, you're better shot closer.
So with regard to the shared driveway, right now, it is a shared driveway with the adjoining landowner Travis Clem. So the reason that you're seeing the new red line on the north end is because Travis will be conveying that 25-foot strip to Mr. Depew, so that the two 25-foot strips will be owned by each of the Depew brothers, as opposed to the 25-foot strip being owned by Mr. Clem. And then he will be putting a separate driveway into Falcon Drive. One of the anomalies here is that Mr. Clem has an address of Falcon Drive, even though his current driveway access is off of Eagle.
It occurs to me, Patty, that driveway's in.
It's in, oh, it's in and it's currently being used by the two
Yeah.
residential
No,
landowners.
I mean, Mr. Clem's new driveway.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
think.
it was recently installed after, obviously, we did this survey map. So that's why it shows it still is being proposed on there. So previously, there were two dwelling units using that shared driveway, and there still will only be two dwelling units using that shared driveway.
So the planning board will be looking for planning board specific comments and referral back to them. As I said before, I have nothing negative to say about this. I think this is a good solution. It's a 10-acre lot, and if one brother can help another brother, I'm all for that.
One of the concerns of the front neighbor, Mr. Russo, also is the fact that it is a very mature wooded site with deciduous trees. So obviously during the winter time, it's more bare. The applicant is actually willing to take out some of those large deciduous trees and replace them with evergreen trees. If at the, to create a better buffer, if that is what the planning board and the zoning board determine best suits the property. I always hate taking mature trees down, but right now, if we try to plant evergreen trees in between those existing deciduous trees, we all know that won't work.
That was one of their comments on the denial, and it was the
The buffer was the issue because the trees have been cut back so close to the line. The funny part is the gentleman the neighbor in the front actually is clear cut almost all the way back to the line. So it's sort of I was here first, so you can't do what you want to do, even though I did what I want to do with the situation. In this instance, I think that this applicant is offering more. There's no middle ground for the applicant or the neighbor in the front. This applicant, in order to sort of help this application along, and I think quite wisely, is giving that additional buffer. And I would not recommend cutting any of those trees. They are awesome trees. Yeah, I mean, the dead and diseased, absolutely, but these are truly old trees.
And I think the applicant is also willing to put up some fencing, also if that will help, and then we don't have to necessarily take trees down.
right. Anybody else from
Yeah,
City?
there's just one property owner.
Did
In
it-
front of all this.
No, it's two.
Oh, okay.
The landowner Sicily has not expressed any concern or any issues with it. We also presented a map to the zoning board, which basically just shows some distances on an ortho digital map. Basically, the house that is being proposed, the new house that's being proposed will be approximately 300 feet away from the neighbor, Mr. Russa. Currently, the other three houses in proximity to the Russa house, the one to the north is 250 feet, the one to the south is 190 feet, and the ones across the street are about 340 feet.
So it's gonna be new to the zoning board with all this stuff.
zoning board has seen all of this.
This,
And they had a public hearing last week, but they wanted feedback from this board first before proceeding.
it seems pretty straightforward, and this end of it does seem a lot better off than it was before. I do recommend there's more trees. I think the buffer is something that we should kind of consider, at least for the other houses on that area there, so.
They already had a public hearing last week, you said, on the ZBA?
Yes, they did. They don't.
Were any comments on that?
Well, again, Mr. Russo was there saying that his preference would be that there be absolutely no subdivision and no additional houses.
So where are we at now?
Tell me what you want to put in the letter.
I'm saying the buffer, I would definitely enhance that buffer, you'd make it a little more private. I know it's cleared on one side of it, one property, as you said, we've already cleared it up to the property line, so I don't know why it should all fall on this gentleman. But there's no public hearing tonight, so we can't hear anything from the audience. I see you looking, talk, you can't tonight. So, anything else on the board? What would you guys consider? Anything else? On this?
I don't need a decision tonight.
I know, but just to get some feedback, so at least you have an idea. of
Yeah, and I
to
think
look
what,
for.
yeah, and I think that the zoning board probably, no matter what, would make a recommendation that as part of the subdivision process, the planning board determine what an appropriate buffer is. I mean, that's what I suggested, that that's really a planning board
Mhm.
effort. But I'm certain they make a recommendation that some type of buffering be enhanced.
Has anybody seen it?
Gone out to the property yet? I haven't gone out there. I don't think anybody else has either. They would text it.
Wetland or anything like that, or
No.
EPC issue?
No, that's why this is the best lot.
Well, we can do that. We can actually take a field trip and see what we've got out there.
I should.
Do it.
The trees that are there are real nice trees.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but, like Patty was saying, if you start cutting the trees down, plant evergreens. Yeah.
And-
Time before you get a buffer.
And I wouldn't call this acidic soil. So we'll see how well evergreens make it.
Right, that's why naturally the hardwoods are what are growing.
Patty, the elevation is similar on both sides of the property line, or?
The elevation of Mr. Rufus' house is about 460, and the elevation of the proposed house is at 456, so
No, it's
proposed
similar.
house be 4 feet lower.
And what type of fencing is the applicant willing to go, with? I mean, what type, how high or?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, and the owner is here, so,
You can come up and speak. It's anything you want. Speak to the mic, state your name. Your view.
Whatever type of fence you prefer, right? The one that we put down on the border, in Texas, you want 8 foot, 12 foot, we tell them that. We prefer a natural border, give back to Mother Earth a little bit, that's where we're going with the trees. We're looking at evergreens, arborvitae's. They grow, we're looking at they start at 5 to 6 feet and they grow on average about 5 feet every year. So you have a 15-foot trees in about 2 years.
And the deer usually eat up 5 and 6.
No, they're deer resistant.
They're deer
The
resistant.
ones, the ones that.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
and the other thing that, that the neighbor was asking that we look into is whether or not the septic system would be able to be placed in a different area. What I'm not sure of is there is a 100-foot wide buffer in the back of the property. So obviously, I'm not sure what the restrictions are with regard to what can be done in that buffer and whether a septic system can be constructed in it, but I'm assuming that it's not to be cleared.
What's the map?
So
Yeah.
we're kind of limited in the, opportunities that we have. We would be able to put the septic system potentially, depending on what soil tests do, behind the house, if the house is moved further to the north, but then that would put it in closer proximity to Mr. Russo's house, so we were trying to avoid that.
Gotcha. And because I'm half blind, what is the distance between the septic system and the blue border now?
50 feet,
It is 50 feet.
There's no wells or anything. Properties.
the property to the south is a farmland, and it's over 100 feet away, and there's just one house in the back.
Does Andy have any questions or anything he wants to bring up?
Yeah, we had quite a few comments on this when it came through previously. I think that, it looks like, many of the comments that we've had have been addressed because they're related to the driveway. I do want to ask, Patty, have you done any soil tests or talked to the health department about the septic system location?
No, we have the septic system shown on here where it was approved in the original subdivision, because this was a lot in the original approved subdivision before they did their lot consolidation.
Okay. Okay, that's good because I'm familiar with the subdivision, the original subdivision, and I know that soils were not ideal for septic systems. So moving them around too much may be a challenge, but if you're using the original location, that's a good thing. So
When was the original?
I want to say 2007.
So at that time, you had Board of Health approval and now you do too, or no? Yeah, you need that.
Yeah, will it have to be reinstituted or not?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because that was done in 2007, and then in 2019, they did the lot consolidation. So this requires Board of Health.
Yeah. So, soil testing probably would be something you're gonna be checking into in order for this to be approved.
Yeah, once we get through the ZBA and we feel comfortable that we would be going through, but to go through the expense of septic testing at this point, when those are.
Without, right. Okay. Andy, anything else?
no, that's it for now.
Paul, do you have anything?
Well, I would just report that in terms of the applicant's presentation, the ZBA, there really are no fees, or don't appear to be, without prejudging the ZBA, any feasible alternatives to what they're proposing in terms of a flag lot. So that's one relevant consideration for the ZBA. In terms of whether to grant a variance. It really does seem to boil down to the impact on the neighbors. And that is, relevant to the criteria that the ZBA look at. So what the ZBA is looking for from the planning board is your comfort level relative to their granting the variance for the flag lot, recognizing that the project will be coming to the planning board for review, and additional, environmental safeguards relative to any kind of buffering, septic, that sort of thing.
Anyone else? Yeah, I don't remember this, there's something come before me before.
So the only thing that was in question was the buffer, nothing else that was an issue with
Did
it.
you get a copy of that zoning, their resolution? I don't know if you have a copy of it.
So they changed the line lot.
Mhm.
That's the only issue looking at, and just the subdivision of the flag lot.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess it's that.
When's the ZBA meeting?
Next month. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
So let's chew it up a little bit too and see if there's something else in the maybe next week or something, we come back in, we'll have some more answers for you to determine, or from our determination of what we see.
Get a horrible look at.
Huh? That, I would think that'd be one of the main things we do.
Yeah, I will be out of town next week, but I think we'll be able to be here.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Next on the agenda is new business, the First Presbyterian Church of Highlands subdivision. We all received the application and plans. We have someone from the applicant side who wants to speak to this. Patty, sorry, I didn't realize you were on that too.
So this is a proposed 2-lot subdivision, to separate the manse from the church. The church is serviced by, natural gas, and we've showed the gas line on there. The house has a furnace with fuel oil. There right now is a water line that is shared, so they're gonna have to put in a separate water line. I believe it goes from the church to the house, so they're going to put in separate, water lines, and they believe the septic lines are separate. I know they're having in contact with the water and sewer department to try to isolate that, so that, if they are together, they can be separated. We really can't go too far with the planning board at this point in time, because we do not have the rear yard setback that we require for lot number 1. It's a 25-foot required setback, and we have, I think, closest point 16.9 feet. So we're looking for a referral to the zoning board of appeals, for that setback. That is the only variance that we require. There is no side yard setback required, but we did maintain, at the closest point in the back of the church is 13.2, and the front along Church Street is 8.6.
So that's allowed, 8.6?
Yeah, it's 0 in this zone. The side yard setback is 0, but the rear yard setback is 25.
And that's why the 6.9 is
Yes.
Well, anyone from staff? Andy?
Well, Patty answered my first question. That was my first concern, was water and sewer services. You know, we would like to see that on the map, you know, if you can locate them or indicate, you know, where they are and how that's going to be done. We had questions about the access to the gravel area in the rear of the house on lot 1. I see the prescriptive easement over the property to the north. I don't know if there was any additional information about that, if that was anything additional was available about that.
Yeah, the applicants, on both sides, actually, the library property, Abraham, the old library property. And both Abraham and the church have both hired, title searchers, and then I also did my own deed research on it. There are no deeded recorded easements, although everybody recognizes the fact that they have been utilized that way, in excess of 70 years. Which is why it's a prescriptive easement. Abraham and the church are in conversations right now. He doesn't have a problem with it continuing to be used, and they're trying to come up with a resolution of filing some type of a document so that the old library property is held harmless. So that there's restrictions on it because there's the overhang there, so you can't have large.
Join the meeting.
And one of the other options that they're looking into is potentially putting one parking space in the front. There is that big, beautiful evergreen tree there that's probably about 60 feet tall. But that's another option.
Anything else, Andy?
No, those are really our main concerns.
Okay, Paul, you got anything?
No, I think I would recommend a referral to the ZBA, as Patty suggested. That was the only thing that we flagged. Otherwise, it seems pretty straightforward. And I think the toughest decision is going to be whether you want to go with something they come up with for prescript, you know, to deal with the easement issue, as opposed to taking down a really nice tree.
So we could just refer to this on board at this point.
Yeah, because we still have that homework. We're having some difficulty determining where those water and sewer lines are,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to delay moving it forward while we're trying to resolve that. So I figured we'll go to the ZBA in the meantime and then try and work out that water and sewer issue.
Perfect. Guys, don't do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Patty.
No, I'm done.
Go ahead, was that you, Paul?
No, it's just saying thank you to Patty.
Oh, okay,
Thank you,
sorry.
Paul.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Tony Printier, special use permit. The application and plan to be circulated to the board. How are you doing?
Very good, how are you?
Good.
Anthony Frizzy, I'm the younger.
Okay, sorry.
Don't look younger
They
anymore.
said Tony, so I'm just
Still the
gonna,
younger one.
trying to be familiar.
No, very good, either way.
That's the old.
Same name. Yeah, so, pretty straightforward, I believe. The Donaldsons asked me to represent them as well. They're very close. They're a really fun relationship. Great neighbor.
Yeah.
And, what we didn't see in this little packet, it's a very, conservative. Us taking the trees was really, our forester said we're about 5 years behind where we normally would be for the harvest. And he says it's the best thing that we could do for the canopy, and it's the best thing we do for the forest. And then, when Robert and I were talking, part of what we want to do when they're done is those little slops that you get to with the trees, we want to connect those by small trails, or he's very involved with Boy Scouts. So we want to create a Boy Scout hiking trail when they're all done and connect these spots where they go in. So it's going to be, we're really excited about the process and making sure that we do the right thing for the forest as well.
Sure. Anyone from staff? Comments?
Yeah, so we took a look at this. We have some questions related to the EAF, some clarifications. Can you tell us more about the wetland crossing that's described in the EAF?
There won't be, so we're not harvesting any trees in or around the wetland buffer, only separate from that. And you can actually, I believe, if anyone does want to come and walk the property first, because we're talking, according to Chris, who's our forester, says we're probably at the best case scenario, even after we get a bid, we're probably not looking until fall or winter of next year or late this coming year. So they're probably about a year out, they're really saying to me now. But all the trees are clearly marked, and you can see for yourself that we have not identified or taken any trees in the wetlands or in the wetlands buffer. And the only places they will cross are in the road that's already there. That was part of the DEC approved crossing for the driveway many years ago.
That was gonna be one of the questions, how you cross in the
It's
wetland.
the only way we cross. We don't touch the wetlands, we don't go near it, and we don't go near the buffer.
Okay, and the existing crossing is able to support the logging equipment?
So it is, actually Billy Crowder did the, initial, construction of the road that crosses the wetlands when we got that done. It is approximately 25 foot wide, so it is actually 2 cars can pass. We did it specifically that way because in case we were going to build it and put a town road in at some point, we made sure we did it to town specs. So the base right now is actually a town spec for a road surface.
Well, that was my question.
Okay.
Anything else, Andy?
The only other thing is that with these timber harvests, you know, a speedies permit, you know, stormwater coverage isn't required, but you do have to comply with the town code requirements for erosion sediment control. And the biggest concern, you know, whenever you have a timber harvest is really the log trucks leaving the site. So hoping for some details or some understanding of how your logger will keep the roads clear. Typically with a construction site, we'd have like a stabilized construction entrance. There may be other methods that loggers use, but I guess we just kind of like to see some information about that.
Do you mean them parking on the town road?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
I mean, when they load the logs onto the trucks and they leave the site.
So loading and unloading and, I guess we call temporary storage areas are going to be all on the property. It's very close to the actual current driveway now, which is again 25 foot wide, and a couple of spots is actually wider, all the way to the back of the property. So as they're coming in, their loaders will load so that it will be actually on our driveway, and they will have a holding area that will be adjacent to it. So there should be virtually minimal impact on anything and no impacts closest to the road.
Yeah, but the tires are the issue. Tires dragging dirt onto the town road. So maybe we just need a sketch or something to kind of clarify how that's gonna work.
So I understand, so, equipment that would be going into the woods, would have to be trucked in. That will go in on my driveway, which is again, large enough and all stone. So if, as they're pulling out, any trucks that are gonna be leaving our property are going to be traveling on stone, not on mud or wood or grass or whatever, but if you would like me to put some sort of provision to make sure that we put it into the contract with, as they bid it, not only do they have to provide the insurance for the building department prior to them coming on, I would consider no less than 90 days, you would have that prior to them coming on. But also I can require them to make sure that there is no mud or debris that leaves our property, but again, I believe it'll be extremely minimal because all that will be done on a stone driveway that's not a muddy issue, which you would have in normal locations. I totally understand your concern.
Yeah.
This does not, I don't believe, fit that problem. Ish.
And
But we can require it.
Done.
But we can require it.
Yeah, provision would be great.
100%.
That way it's not.
So I know you're driving.
Yeah,
You're talking, the log loaders would be stationed
on the driveway, yes. All what I was told by the forester is they would take them and they send them to the driveway,
Yeah.
then they would be loaded. So your log loader, your equipment that are gonna be leaving with the logs from our property to the location of the lumberyard are not touching dirt or mud. They're being,
Usually they require like a tracking thing.
yeah, but we
But
can definitely,
you don't even need
I
that.
don't think we're gonna need it, but again,
I know where the road is.
I have no problems making sure we put that as a provision,
Right.
that if they do, they have to come back and clean it up, because I wanna make sure it's, the neighborhood looks good too, my family's been here since 1890.
The guy across the street probably would complain about the mud.
And all the adjacent properties are related to me, yeah, so we wanna make sure we keep it clean as well, so I have no problem. making
And that's a
sure-
standard request, so that we would ask for construction or logging in this case.
Totally understandable and acceptable.
Anyone else on the board? Paul, you have anything?
Yep, hang on. Yeah, we do have some comments and we'll make sure they get to the applicant. From a zoning perspective, one of the things we'd like Dave to look at is it appears that this property is in a split zone. So that means it's, both in the design business district and the residential 1 acre district. So just want to get some clarification from the zoning department on where the timber harvesting will actually occur. Because in one of those districts, it's not, well, in the DB zoning district, it's not a permitted use. So it would, potentially require a use variance. So that's just one issue from a zoning perspective. In terms of the application, there is a requirement for a forest management plan, and it appears that the application includes some of the elements of a forest management plan, but not others. And so I think that's something that, the planning department or the building department needs to look at and talk with the applicant about to see whether those are things that the planning board might consider waiving or whether it's information that should be required. That information, some of it is relevant to seeker. This is an unlisted action. So the board will need to make a seeker determination, and they'll need to look at potential impacts to the natural resources as part of that. So the board's going to have to be comfortable that you have sufficient information to make that determination. And it kind of segues back to one of the questions that Andy raised, which is the potential impacts to wetlands on the property, either direct impacts from crossings, using the existing crossing. You may want to know about the status of the existing crossing. It's not a DEC wetland. but it is and national wetlands inventory, wetland. So, one question that popped into my mind is, is this something that the Army Corps, should be aware of or has previously permitted? Anyway, so there's things like that that I think are relevant to the board seeker review. There's also there's a threatened flowering plant that's potentially on the property. These are just things that the board in conducting its seeker review needs to make sure it takes a hard look at and is satisfied that it has done its due diligence before any approval for the project. So like I said, we'll get these comments to the applicant, but that is the sort of the flavor of things that we're seeing in the application as proposed.
Yeah, so Paul, the first thing is, just to clarify, no commercial property is being harvested. It's solely residential. And it shows that clearly on the application and the sketch. So it's only the residential property, zone residential, that's being harvested. The property itself has been harvested 3 times in my lifetime. From with help of the DEC, the DEC helped us improve our crossing again, which will not be is the only crossing that will be allowed by the loggers. And to the point about any protected either animals or wildlife or trees or flowers.
Yeah.
The actual forester that was on site, Chris, who came highly recommended from the DEC, we got him from them. He went through and made sure, he actually specifically said there are no endangered animals, there are no frogs that are in that endangered spot of being a problem for logging, and that there were no greenery or any kinds of trees, shrubs, or moss or whatever that would hinder a logging. He specifically went through that.
Right. Well, no, I appreciate that. That's all good. Those are just gaps we identified in the review of the application. And it may be information that the planning board wants to get from, people who, agencies who have responsibility for it. That'll be up to the planning board, but we're just providing comments at this point, and we'll provide those to the building department and to you so that you can have them as we continue to work through the review of the project.
Okay. So you got anything else? Anybody else on board?
I'm good.
Yeah. All right, so we'll determine what we have, we'll get the other information that you have to provide, and then we'll review that and we'll see you.
Yeah, and again, and if anyone wants to come and see how really, really conservative this is, I'm more than happy to walk the property. I mean, you have to look really hard to find one out of like the 10 trees that are there that we're actually gonna harvest. And again, the only reason why we're actually doing this again is because the DEC and our forester told us that we're 5 years overdue to do what's right for the canopy.
Yeah.
So, and then hopefully we have a nice little trail for the Boy Scouts.
There you go, works for both of them, that was very good. Very good. All right, thank you, I think that's it for now. Okay, I'm gonna just review the other information that we get and we'll go from there.
Okay,
All right,
all right, I'll be
Thank you.
back and I'll come back whenever you guys want.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody.
Next on the agenda is Latin Fork Farms, a special use permit has been applied for. We've gotten the plan for circulated to the board. And come up and state your name.
Good evening, I'm Jared, my wife Haley.
Hi, how are you? So just speak a little bit about your project.
Yeah, so we're looking to seek a special use permit for a farm. We want to do specifically weddings, private events. We have a nice 19th century barn on the property that not really being utilized right now, that when we bought the property, we thought that that would be a good use for it specifically.
Anyone from staff want to speak to this property?
Sure. We have quite a few comments on this one. first, the county health department definitely needs to be contacted about this. I know there's an indication of using a temporary toilet facilities. Not sure that's gonna work for the event facility, but the health department will weigh in on that. The site plan, there's quite a few things that need to be addressed through the site plan. First and foremost, it needs to be prepared by a licensed professional. We need a little more clarification on what's actually being proposed to be constructed. It appears that it might just be the parking area, but we do need a limited disturbance indicated there for that. We have some questions about the traffic that's going to be generated for this use. Appears that it could be a significant increase with up to 200 people at an event. ADA accessibility, that needs to be addressed in terms of access to the buildings, access to the barn, parking, loading zones. Let's see. There's also, we have some off-street parking requirements that would need to be addressed as far as the parking area is concerned, specifically with regard to screening, the location of the parking area, landscaping, of course, lighting, and then we're looking for some indication of emergency vehicle access, turnaround, turning movements for the buildings, particularly for the barn in the back. Refuse location, container enclosures. The topo needs to be identified in 2-foot contour intervals. We also need to see proposed grading as well as existing. And those are the kind of the highlights. We have a number of comments on this.
Paul, do you have anything?
Dave and I are talking about the zoning side of it, and we'll be able to report back more on that next week. But otherwise, I don't have any comments at this point.
So I have one. I'm pretty familiar with the property.
Where are we at? New Bolton?
It's the old Castleman property.
Okay, got it.
Where's that, right?
Then Noreen owned it. Yeah. So, but I'm familiar with the property. So you're saying the barn? Are we talking the big barn? Or are we talking the little barn next to it? It's
The big.
the big one. Are you using the little barn also?
Yeah, we currently have a farm store, so I've been growing veggies and I've had a farm store for a couple
Okay.
years. Yeah.
And the downstairs part of it where all the stables were? That property as it separate and they're not doing anything with that?
No.
Oh, you mean the little barn next to the big barn?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
first question I answered. There's 2 barns there. Are you gonna use that second barn? Nothing. I know that was dressed up as a wedding, something or other at one point, so
We have the store in the little barn at the front.
that's in the front, right? So right of the driveway,
Yeah.
that's right. And then, my other question was, so there's nothing downstairs in that area, because then it was like light painted. I don't know if it was lead paint or whatever it may have been. I don't know, but it's definitely, it looks like it was all peeling apart.
A lot of structural stuff.
Yeah,
It's pretty old stuff.
yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, I'm sure the building department will take a look at that before they do anything, but yeah, I would have to agree, and it's a small service that was there to the property too, I remember, so.
You said this was John's Castle's property. Back.
Yes, yeah, Castle, I say Castleman, but I said it, yes,
I got
different guy, but yes, it's Capital Properties, yes. But that's all I really have. I just wanted to know what part of that building or that property we're gonna use, and obviously we're concerned about the noise in the area with the neighbors that are so closely, to the property to the left. I know you have plenty of property around too, but so concern of noise. I don't think there's really anything else that I really could think of on that property, but anybody else?
It's like there's a lot of, oops, it's like there's a lot of buffering,
Absolutely, yeah.
to the west.
Yeah, and then there's all that space to the east side of it. So,
So that large barn in the back, there's no septic service or anything.
No.
There's a well, though, there's water.
yep,
Yeah, so you'll have, I did some digging around that well for your mom.
anyone else? Okay, we're gonna unravel this one too a little bit, so we can take a look and see what's there, but, you got some of the recommendations from, Andy and Paul, obviously, and, you pretty much answered my concern. What would you be doing with that other barn on the other side? My concern was the safety of that barn too. I remember downstairs, the low part of it was a little more like a, like chicken coop or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's a bit dilapidated. Oh, we don't really have plans for that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is John Conti, special use permit, 2225 Martin Avenue. We've all received the application and the plan circulated to the board. Is John here?
He said he was gonna try to be on Zoom. He said he wasn't sure if he could make it.
Okay. So we're gonna push that one off, just,
Yeah, I don't
I'm
see
not
him.
gonna discuss too much of that one right there. Yeah, I don't think we should discuss it at all right now without him being here, so maybe. All right, so I'm skipping over Joshua Murphy. Sarah, how do you do?
Mhm.
The next is Robert.
Skipping over that one too. That whole section you skip over.
The whole thing?
Just those two.
I didn't know that, I didn't realize that, okay, I'll skip over that one too. Continued public hearings was, next on the agenda, Highland 9W Self Storage Special Use Permit, we're putting solar panels on the roof. Anything on that? Anyone here to speak on that property?
See anybody? But we do have a resolution
We do, Paul, we have a resolution for that,
and the public hearing is still open too.
and I can close that, well, we can wait till next week, right?
Well, we said we were gonna approve it this week. Did you
Okay.
say said last month? It's in the
Yeah.
minutes.
I guess it's true. We could go through it. Paul, are you there? If Paul's not there, we're gonna push it to next week.
I'm here.
So first I'll ask if we can, is there anyone here from the public that wants to speak on behalf or against the property?
Yeah.
Anyone in Zoom land? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? So move. Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Seeing, any abstentions or none? Okay, all in favor of closing the public hearing, so that's closed. Paul, do you have a draft resolution for this,
I
gentleman?
do, and I'm just trying to find it. Sarah and I were going back and forth a lot on this afternoon. So, just have too many copies of it. Let's see here. My apologies. She just kept telling me I had a mistake.
Say that again?
She kept telling me I had a mistake in the resolution.
Oh,
So, Sarah, do you have it there?
here, I tell you what, I'll start with.
I still have the error in my copy.
You
Oh,
do?
man, no, I will, give me just 1 second and I'll get it. I can find this really quickly. I apologize. I don't have it in my computer. Okay, comments. Okay, here we are. I got it.
Thank you, Paul.
Just downloading. My apologies, guys. Okay, so this, this is a solar project, rooftop solar, 3659 US 9W, Town of Lloyd. And it's in the general business zoning district. Here are the resolve clauses. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the zoning code and New York State town law, planning board hereby approves a special use permit for the project. Be it further resolved that pursuant to the zoning code and New York State town law, the planning board hereby approves the site plan for the project.
that be it further resolved that pursuant to the site plan regulations and New York State Town Law, the planning board chairman is hereby authorized to assign the approved site plan upon payment of any fees owed to the town of Lloyd, and the chairman signing of the approved site plan shall certify it as final, the approved final site plan. Be it further resolved that if any part of this resolution is annulled by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remainder shall stay in effect. Be it further resolved that within 5 days, it shall be filed with the town clerk and a copy shall be mailed to the applicant. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
Motion.
Second. Thank you, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Any abstentions? None. So passed. This motion is passed. Thank you. Have anything? Next is SCC Court Site Plan, review status is updated plan circulated to the board. Public hearing was opened on December 7th, 2023. And state your name and a little bit about your application.
We made some changes to the site plan, from the comments from the last time, so hopefully, we got them right this time. You can see, there's, Pete Miller made a recommendation where we, turn around for the fire truck, we can provide it. And there were questions about the clean outs, double clean outs is noted on the plan. The, stone line ditches are on the plan. And the limits of disturbance is on there. Okay.
So from the last meeting when we were here, just I'll start off with this one. But you did work and we weren't approved yet.
They made changes from the comments that was from the last meeting.
Okay, but you already had the septic line in the last time you were here at the meeting.
Yes, and that was, the town installed it with us and that's been.
Okay, we didn't approve it though. That's the thing.
Approval.
So he shouldn't do anything unless we say yes to your project. We didn't say yes to it yet. Just so we're all on the same page with that. And so before we do anything, make sure we have approvals. And that's what I'm gonna say to anybody that's coming in front of the board. We can't just do things because you want to do things.
In his defense, the town was there with putting sewer line. So
I mean, I do have.
I know where he's coming from. I feel.
Understand where we're coming from first, because we're setting policy and we would like to make sure that what we're doing is correct. So that it doesn't come back to bite us later on. It's procedural.
Yes.
So that's really where I'm going with that. So that was my first pet peeve on the whole thing right off the bat. Then the driveways changed again, which thank you for the drawings to show that.
It's at 10%.
And they're meeting Pete's requirements, what he needed for the fire truck. And
Yes. He sent the thing and went up to the engineer and they designed the turnaround and everything for the ladder truck.
Okay,
And that's all.
By the way, that whole subdivision is great.
Thank you.
anybody else got anything? Anyone from the staff gonna speak to it?
Yeah, I still have some comments on this one. The driveway slope, the profile, when you transition from North Road to the driveway, it goes from 2% to 10%. The fire chief provided a diagram of the ladder truck. We need to make sure that the ladder truck isn't going to scrape its bumpers when it makes that transition. So I'd ask that the engineer check that and make sure that that transition is gradual enough that that the fire truck can make it. You know, meeting the slope requirements, but that transition could be problematic with the bumpers. We're also seeing grading that's crossing the property line. I understand that you know, Mr. Kusa owns that property next door, but we still need to see you know, some formal you know, agreement, easement, temporary construction easement, something that allows that to happen. Just paperwork. The culvert that's shown at the driveway along North Road, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. It appears to be buried at the top, based on the grades that that are shown right now. So we need a little bit more clarification on that. And then, yeah, so those are the kind of the major comments. The double clean out needs to be reversed. Those Ys need to be facing each other, not opposite direction. Otherwise, those are kind of the big ones.
No, okay.
So you understand that, the south, they come
Yeah.
down, they go like this.
And as far as Andy's comment, when those 3 lots were approved, it was approved with a grading easement for 104 and 102. There's a grading easement. That was there, and I own both lots, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything else?
That whole line isn't it? That's
No, it's just, it's off the road.
just into
Yeah,
the, into the
into
property.
the property, yeah.
Okay.
And that was my other question is, as like a developer, if I was just gonna build a single family house there, I couldn't bring my water and sewer across the street. It's more, valuable to my property.
I'm not saying you couldn't do it, you would just need approval to have.
No, not from us, not from you.
Oh, not from us.
Single family dwelling, no.
Okay, but who does that?
I do. It's a building permit, yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
So no administration.
Yeah. Okay. My concern was just that we didn't get too far ahead of it and set a precedent for somebody else to come in and say, I'm building a multiplex building there. I just did it. And,
Well, you know what,
I talked to Andy or I talked to Richie. We're just trying to keep everything
Yeah,
more procedural and keep things in line. That's all. I think we talked about that the last meeting too, that it was done. So. Okay. Anything else on this? Paul, do you have anything?
Procedurally, it's really, it's a pretty straightforward. It's a type 2 action. Would require a county referral in all likelihood. And when you're ready with a complete application, you can go ahead and schedule a public hearing for it. I don't know how you feel, Andy, in terms of the need for additional changes before the board could be ready for that, but I would defer to CPL and the board.
Okay, so we can have, sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I would say we need, at the very least, we need to see that fire truck can make it up the driveway. Once we've confirmed that, then I'm okay with kind of proceeding.
Okay, yeah, so that's what we'll go with that. So we'll push this open until next week even, and if you can get us some of that information, so we're making sure that the truck can do what it needs to do, we're good. And meeting the conditions that Andy has set forth in it. Good?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, Scott,
Yes, sir.
just letting you know, I've been on the meeting on the phone and wasn't able to speak. Or somehow, I think they were all muted. So I just joined by Zoom.
Thank you. I see you there. I saw you. Come on. Thank you. Next, under old businesses, under old business, we have the villages, updated plans and response letter was circulated to the board.
What? That was motion to adjourn.
John.
Yeah.
Nice try, Dave.
Good evening.
Good evening.
John First, Catania Man and Ryder, just to give you guys a little update
Why
as
is the
far as
sound
the
not coming
history.
through?
Just to clarify, so if you all remember, in August of 2023, you guys adopted a resolution of conditional approval, and that was in connection with the overall site plan, the entire PRRD with the ALF and all of the units, as well as Phase A. We are currently working with staff to complete those conditions of approval so that the chairman can sign the overall site plan as well as Phase A. I believe the conditions for the overall site plan have been provided. And I think there's 1 or 2 minor outstanding items for Phase A before the chair can sign it. In January of 2024, we submitted a proposed site plan for phases B and C. If you recall, the August resolution we had a phasing schedule with respect to, we were gonna break up the approvals in phases. So irrespective from phase A, we're now moving forward with phase B and C for the planning board's review. And we're looking for a resolution of conditional approval for phases B and C. What we're doing, like I said, is consistent with the resolution that you guys adopted for the overall site plan back in August. We're just implementing the phasing plan that we discussed. The plans that we submitted in January with respect to phases with respect to phases B and C are pretty much exactly the same as the plans that were reviewed as far as the overall site plan in August of 2023. We haven't changed the unit counts. The units within each phase are the same. We haven't changed or modified any of the locations of the units. I think the only change, according to Ken Casamento, there were some stormwater changes that CPL had requested and were made. And I'm sure Andy Learn can talk about those more specifically, but I think it had to do with adjusting some spreaders, clarifying a chamber, making sure the notes were consistent with what was being shown on the plans, and providing some clarity with respect to the separation of phases. We also, in the set that we provided back in January, had included a larger scale version focusing on phases B and C1 and C2. So that way it was easier for the board members, specifically with respect to the landscaping and lighting. I think those are the type of things that you guys are going to be looking at as far as we dig in a little deeper with respect to phases B and C. We did submit we did make a supplemental submission for phases B, C1, and C2 in response to CPL's comments from late January. So we have responded to Andy's initial comments. And so we submitted the plans back in February. And again, we're focusing here on B and C, on some of the lighting and site plan landscaping issues that may come up. So we're really kind of looking for any input with respect to that. But overall, what we're presenting here is pretty much exactly the same from what was reviewed back in August of 2023. So we're hoping to get a resolution of conditional approval, so that we can then figure out what the conditions are and start working towards that.
Okay. Anyone from staff? Dave's up.
I'm up. So thanks, John. I was gonna do all that, but you did it much, much better. Because I was gonna do that interpretive dance thing again. So what the board, as John pointed out, the board, they're stepping through the conditions that were required for the overall site plan. I think we're very, very close. They submitted, thank you for that. They submitted basically a checklist of stuff that, they've supplied to us. These are the maps that came. There are full overall site plan maps upstairs. They're much, much bigger, obviously. So what the board will do now, in my opinion, is they'll do their piece to get through phase overall and phase A. Those are all condition driven. And what I would suggest the board to do was to sort of, as John points out, kind of drill down into things like lighting and landscaping for B, C1 and C2. So what I would ask of the applicant, I know on the overall plan, we have really sort of each section of the phasing is sort of blown up in that plan for landscaping. We can drill right down into it. I think maybe the board could use that again, just a single sheet for that for landscaping. The lighting actually appears to be compliant. We did a quick look through of the photometrics earlier. That seems to be copacetic in terms of light spill. But we're still going to want you guys to kind of weigh in on I'll drill down here a little bit. this is C2 here in the back, I believe, C2. And, it abuts houses. The back here is sort of graded out and they'll have a nice view. But then, down here, these houses, all these houses and these houses are gonna have spectacular views. Maybe we want to think about how that sort of gets shielded. This is the last phase, I believe, down here. So we don't have to worry about that quite yet, but we should keep it in mind. So that the landscaping sort of blends together. What I don't have, Amy, is on this map, I don't have a key. Like on the individual phase maps, there are keys. So when I drill down in, I can see that this larger dot here is a certain type of tree. They do give me the list of trees, and what they are, but I don't have the key as to what they represent on this map. So maybe that would be helpful to the board. Thank you.
So the baby blue is A?
Baby blue is A, and actually, we have building permits now that we're reviewing, and I have a question about that before we go.
Well, if she could have that also as a key on there so that everybody knows what phasing they're looking at.
Yeah.
I can't keep it set.
We have, yeah, it does. So, yeah, we have it, but that is a good point. So phasing, the landscaping for B is X, Y, Z. They're gonna spend a lot of money on trees, no question. I just want to make sure we're dotting i's, crossing trees. So, I have a question. That may be relevant to the board. John, can I come up next to you and ask you a question? Sure. Maybe it's any questions. Remember, interpretive minutes. I can. Okay. I'll do it. I know you will. So. Not to be that guy. But the plans of the board reviewed, and the type of buildings. Yeah.
Could you just tell me, just so for clarification on the board, where is B and C, just so we can see them on the board? I don't know the colors, and I do apologize.
The colored one?
No, I can see
Oh,
the
okay.
colors, I don't.
So we can make it.
I'm not a surgeon, I
We can
can't
make it
make
hatch and stuff. So B is the area down, sort of right above Landos. Top point. Right, this is B.
That's okay.
Right, the clubhouse is here. C1 and C2. Good. So, did you just take my plan? You did. So those are the plans of the houses, that were anticipated.
Yep.
That's not what the building permits came in as. So these have, low hanging porches, and this porch runs across the whole front of the building. So I don't think I have an elevation for these. Might be helpful for the board to just say, yeah, we don't care that the porch is bigger. But I have no elevations.
Okay, this is the model.
The models, yeah. So if that's the case for the rest of the buildings, I don't care. It's literally no skin off our nose. But Anthony was reviewing the plans and noticed that the porches were bigger than we anticipated they would be. And asked the question, so I'm asking the question. I don't care, I don't mind a bigger porch. The porches that were proposed are very small, I think. Are they covered? They're covered, yeah, they're all covered. So, but on the one hand, on one side, so I'll just stand here, on one side, we'll look at these doubles here. One side, that porch runs all the way across, so there's no step back. On this side. You said. The elevation. I do have an elevation. On the other side, it's enclosed. So no porch. That's the whole porch. There's the garage in between. And then this is installation. I don't care. Yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference. So, I mean, I like the porches because we always had this vision in our heads. People would sit out there and chat with each other. Exactly right. But as we know, America is getting further and further apart from each other, so maybe they won't.
How far apart from each other? We're real close together,
Yeah, not real close. I think the closest one up there is to 11 feet in B. I think that's the closest one. Don't quote me. I have to go back and look at it.
There was probably a total of 6 on the whole site.
There were
Maybe
under 10.
There were under 10, there was 7-foot change.
We have a quick number of how many are in A, how many are B, and how many.
We do.
I have that here, so, actually in the resolution of approval that was adopted back in August.
Hey, my friend.
That's the resolution that was approved.
17 A. No, sorry, 21 in phase A, 17 in phase B. C1 has 23 units, C2 has 19. 19. So that's not changing, we haven't changed that as we're presenting to you.
And that's in this resolution.
Yes.
August 2022, yes.
So a quick question for the board, how do you want to handle the difference? Do you think it's de minimis, so you don't care about the type of buildings? Are you okay with the, the enclosed side and the wider porch?
I think originally it was sold was that they could sit out there and they talk to each other, just as you said. Doesn't matter to me either way, but I don't think it makes much of a difference. You guys? Anybody else on board want to talk to? Nobody else wants to.
The porches got there enclosed, I mean, is the roof line all still the same?
Yeah, it'll basically look the same. It's just that on the one side where the porch is, the porch extends out, that's where the door is. It actually extends out of the building and the that same gable end set back to the primary part of the house beyond the porch. On the other side, it's just a regular gable end. Yeah, I mean, it'll look nice. We didn't want to act without making sure that you guys were aware. Because, Bill, what do you think? You didn't see it.
I think it's de minimis. To me, I can't really see you're not sharing the screen, but I believe they're the same. No significant difference.
I don't think we'll be, the footprint's still gonna be the same for the most part.
Yeah, it's really, they're exactly the same houses, they're just they're just different than what you guys.
And it's in every
reviewed.
duplex like that, or actual duplex, but it's in every one of those where the 2 houses are
So-
mirrored.
I'm hoping that as the project advances, that maybe things will change, that we won't get same exact 3 or 4 models all the way around. They'll still all be ranches, because we're talking, the access 62 and up. But they'll all be 1 story, but maybe we get some changes here and there just to kind of break it up as the project ages. But, yeah, they'll all be basically the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference.
Okay, good.
Me, rest of the board, what do you think?
I think we're all.
Just all radians.
Yeah, something like that.
There's some linkage between the build out and the track like side.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, those are some of the conditions. that-
Yes, there is. That's exactly right. In fact, since you spoke to it, it seems to me. You remember where that is, John? We can't move beyond.
That was later on.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yeah, so they can't get a certificate of occupancy, Jerry, in phase A until proof of installation of the applicant of the traffic signal. All right, so. But again, at this point, the board's focus should be about the phase B, C1, and C2. My biggest sort of thing is landscaping, which you've already reviewed, but now you have the opportunity to go deeper. You could add conditions, make some changes if you want. It's all available to you.
Andy, do you have anything?
Still there?
Paul, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think Andy has just come back on. Hopefully he can hear us now, but I would agree. I think that in terms of protecting the board, the resolution protects the board in terms of the phasing. What you have in front of you is B and C to look at right now and to see what changes may have been made from what you originally approved. To look more closely, I think what we wanted to do was we would look more
Join the meeting.
We look more closely at the landscaping in particular, and then also the technical details, which CPL is looking at, and if Andy's back on, he can report on. But the idea potentially would be next week, if the board's comfortable, to schedule a public hearing on this for March and get whatever additional information that you need back from the applicant. And we can talk about any additional conditions that you might want to include in an approval resolution, if that's the direction that you're heading. One of the things what sort of happened here is the phases have become a little more compressed because time has passed. And we've been working on getting the conditions complied with for the overall site plan and for phase A. As Dave suggested, we're pretty close to that. The overall site plan is ready for Scott's signature. The phase A, the only condition that's left is CPL sign off on any final comments. And so we're really ready to move forward into B and C, and just want to help the board focus its review and make sure the process continues to protect the board in the way that it wanted to, in terms of making sure that things like the traffic signal are done, that the upgrades to the pump station are done. And then when we get beyond B and C, to make sure that the assisted living facility is permitted and ultimately built, so that we have a complete project here.
Yes. Go ahead, Fred.
That's phase C.
You speak in the microphone. Nobody can hear you. You can turn it on.
That's phase C.
They can build it.
Permitting.
Yeah, they can build, so the permit, they've applied to the state for the license for the ALF, that's what you're asking about?
Yes.
They can build it anytime they want. But they will stop, it's a hard stop at the end of C, unless that's underway.
Right. Just as at the end of A, there's a hard stop until they get the traffic light installed.
For COs.
For COs, yes.
And we talked about, if we are gonna move into a public hearing, I guess we'll condition what the public hearing's about too, just so we don't get everybody speaking to the yay or nay of the project. It's not about that, it's about more or less what we're talking about with the lighting and the landscaping. So we can kind of keep that funneled down to just that.
Focused, right.
Focused, that's
Yeah.
probably the best way, because it'll be the whole thing all over again. We don't want to do that.
No, we don't want.
Yeah, I mean,
It's already been passed, that's.
I know your attorney spoke about recommending a public hearing. I don't see the requirement for a public hearing. Obviously, it's up to the board and you can listen to your staff, because again, what we're proposing is exactly consistent with what was reviewed over the summer and approved back in August of 2023, but for some stormwater changes.
Right.
So I would just offer that as an option. I personally don't think the board legally has to have a public hearing, but obviously you're gonna do what you're gonna have to do. And I would, if you are having a public hearing, yes, I think it should be kind of focused, because we're just gonna hear the same stuff that we've been hearing the last 4 years.
Yes,
And
and
the same misinformation.
Yeah.
It's important, we are looking to kind of move forward. The contractor's kind of done everything he can do. He's pretty much stopped at the site. There's not much he can do. He's kind of waiting for us to obtain his approval so he can move forward. So, in the interest of time, it would be great if we can have the resolution next week, but we understand, your decision.
yeah, and I'm following the advice of counsel too, so, and staff. So what I would say too is that every time when you come before us again, if you can, it's not really it's more of an understanding of what has been done up to the point of you coming in and asking for a new approval. So this way we can kind of stay focused on what's being done and what we are focused on as far as approving. Because I gotta be honest with you, I looked at this the other day and I was more glazed over, and I think I saw the board was pretty glazed over the last time we all met. So what are we really looking at? What were we looking
Correct,
to
that's
do?
why the focus is phase B and C, and I gave you guys the update
did.
as far as where we're at. As far as the construction component, Kelly can give you an update next week. I'm not even gonna pretend to even know
Perfect.
details of how the construction is. I do know, like I said, they have stopped because they've kind of done everything they can.
Okay, but like, again, it's just so we do know where you're at. If for some reason construction does stop, for whatever reasons are, I'm in construction, I know how it goes. But I just, for us just to assume where we are, I don't think that's fair to the board. I think we really need to know from you, the applicant, where we stand at that point of the application. Fair enough?
Yeah, and John, the roads are roughed in at this point, basically?
Yeah.
This is the way to jump. Could there be ways, if there's no stuff?
Excuse
Could there be a way to cut there if there's no stuff?
Hold on, Paul.
I'm not sure how far out,
Oh, okay.
but there is a road.
Yeah, I drove the site, but I got my truck pretty dirty.
Okay.
So,
He'll clean it.
I'll talk to Dave.
Kelly can give you more details next week. She couldn't make it tonight.
Okay. Paul, go ahead, thank you.
Yeah, no, just to kind of, I guess confirm, everything you're hearing. I think that the idea of a public hearing is really to make sure that the public's aware that we're not doing anything behind the scenes that, but also as you and I discussed, narrowing the public hearing in the notice, being very clear that this is an approved project and we're focused on just looking at B and C. I think that's entirely appropriate. So I think it's, there's a nice way of doing it, and I think will be helpful to the board's, the credibility of the actions that you take. The other thing I just wanted to mention briefly is I think that your role is, there is a substantive role that you're playing here. It's not just a rubber stamp. You are looking at, these individual phases, and we knew this coming in, that there would be some details that you would want to look at and make sure you're comfortable with, and maybe require some additional things, additional plantings, that sort of thing specific to the individual phases, so that the overall project, as it evolves, comes together the way that the ultimate vision that the planning board would have for it. So I would not make light of your review. It's not just a rubber stamp, but in the same vein, we're trying to do it efficiently and move through a phasing process that's consistent with the resolution and protecting the town's interest.
I agree. On the rest of where you'll go with that?
Yeah, we'll see, we're not gonna do anything till next week.
Right, yeah. Anything else, anyone?
I don't know, does Andy have any comments? Is he back on? Or?
Andy, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. So we did have a chance to look at the phase B and C plans that were submitted. I'll be honest, most of our comments have been addressed. We still have a few questions about emergency turnarounds, particularly for phase B. And then, Ken did make some revisions for me for the for stormwater, but I'm still looking for calculations to support those changes. I can coordinate directly with him and make sure I get what I need there. There was also a comment about there's the bus stop, and I guess UCAT won't place the bus stop on private property, which is understandable. I guess I just want to bring that to the board's attention, that was a change.
we wanted them to pull into the site in front of the ALF.
I thought that's what we talked about originally.
They're not gonna.
And no bus stop anywhere off of 9.
They won't stop.
Anywhere.
Yeah, it needs to be a place that's safe. And there's no place on 9W in front of the building, in front of
That's a
them.
big issue.
They do, it seems to me, well, I guess they don't stop at Hannaford's.
I was gonna say, maybe that would be the
They
stop,
don't.
but
It's part-
But UCAT stops like by Speedway, and they also stop on 9W up by the mobile station. I've seen people get
Right.
on and off. They stop right on the side of 9W up there.
They will stop anywhere you flag them down.
I mean, I didn't thought there was a place.
I'll have to go out and look.
I don't even know where to go with that one. I mean, what can we ask them to do? Nothing, right? maybe give us a direction of where they do stop in town, so we know.
Maybe
The
somebody,
shuttle buses will take them to the UCAT.
maybe somebody on the Ulster County Planning Board could ask,
I will, maybe that's a good question.
because Dennis would know.
Yeah, I will ask that, just because. I know they want to utilize it more, that's why.
Yeah, the county, executive just had a big report on it.
It's free, isn't it?
It's free.
It's free. I'll do my part, you do yours.
Okay.
Thanks.
I did that up there.
Yeah.
Nope,
Dave? He doesn't want to.
they will.
Can I see the other end of it? That's
The other,
proposed someday? Yeah, that's it. The north side, that's what I want.
let me move it over,
Yeah, that's not proposed someday, that's happening.
You know, but it's not right now.
down the road.
Before, so, yeah.
All right. Good. So I think we're good. though.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Amy.
Next on the agenda
John, that's gonna give me an application.
is Mark Reynolds, special use permit. Is he on the phone tonight? Or is he
Talk to Paul today.
not in the audience? Obviously?
Hard stop and A. Scott's gonna sign it.
Do we want to talk about the property in question?
And then go to track it.
Because it's a matter of public record. at this point, it's on, and we can have some issues from the last review.
New site plan.
I'll talk to you. I agree, and we can contract can't talk to the project, but
This paperwork.
Lambros, you need to put your,
I think we talked to John today.
you think?
I'm hearing Lambros talk over you, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, let's keep the conversation for one. Sorry.
Why start now?
So we have Mark Reynolds on the next line here.
He is asked to remove himself. The last email conversation we had is he was going to get engineer stamped plans.
Right, which we asked for back in August, and we haven't had them since.
Correct. There was a submittal in January that was sort of a updated version of the plans that was submitted in August, but not engineered. So I
And
had,
this is the same property that's in question for the accessory apartment that's illegal at this point,
correct.
and for the special use permit he's looking for the SDR.
That's right. If you recall, at the August meeting, we had a conversation about possibly applying for a two-family because the board was uncomfortable with the square footage.
Right.
Which we didn't know precisely because we didn't have an engineer plan, which is why you asked them for it. So, once you get, and I put it in an email to him, but once the board has an engineer plan, you know the exact square footage on your own volition, you could refer it to the zoning board for that area relief if he decides to go for accessory apartment. If he didn't want to go for an accessory apartment, he could apply for a two-family as of right and have you guys review it now without, the accessory piece.
So he's in violation twice, and the reason why I'm making this point is because other people have STRs that didn't come in and do their thing that they're supposed to in order to comply with the law. This is a delay that's been going on since August, and he's still renting the apartment out.
As far as I know, yeah.
According to what I've seen this on the VBR verbos or whatever they are. So I've seen it, and I've seen his great replies and recommendations from other people. So, I mean, he's in violation. He shouldn't be doing that whatsoever. It's putting us in a really bad spot because here we are. It's another, like we had an issue before where somebody's doing a septic line and they didn't get approval from us. So we can't have that kind of thing. We've already told him he's in violation for two things. You can't have an SDR and you can't have an accessory apartment. That hasn't been approved, period. So I'm just making the point because it's come before us. I read all the paperwork, read emails, and I'm not happy about it, but I don't know what the planning or the planning department or building department can do about it. But at this point, we've asked them for stuff quite clearly and we have not been accommodated.
Yeah, so the enforcement action pauses when they apply. This was, the ongoing thing with another applicant. But we have paused our enforcement action, hoping that it would be resolved administratively through your review. That is not an open-ended gift to take as long as you want. And I let him know that, so he's aware, and I'm hoping I told him we put him on for March. Fingers crossed.
Okay, but it's more for general purposes so that everybody who's got SDRs that are sitting on them, they're still haven't complied with the law. Here we are, it's 2 years now. Year and a half.
Yeah, It's a long time.
And nobody, you know, there's a lot of people, it's not just this one individual, there's a lot of people who haven't complied with it yet. Sorry, right? I mean, you could, there's a numerous amount of people. So we're just asking that everybody does their share of what's right, and we can do our part. So. That being said, next on the agenda, well, maybe I should say, does anyone else on the board have any comments to that? I mean, all kind of in favor of what I'm saying and what I'm asking, it's pretty simple, it's.
We just have to remain consistent with everyone across the board, and that's the way the system works.
Right. Bill, you got anything?
I agree with you, Scott. This is taking too long.
Yes, especially for this. I mean, we tried to help them give them direction. In this one particular case, we give them direction on how we could go to make it work. So, all right, that being said, I'm gonna move on the agenda. Short-term rentals, we have public hearings. Ryan Law, 65 Holly's Corners, the application and supporting documents were circulated to the board. Potential actions we could possibly open, but we got Mr. Law, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer.
I'm here. Ryan Law's here.
Hi, Ryan, how are you?
Good, guys. How you?
Good.
Good.
Speak to your application.
Pardon me?
Can you speak to your application?
I still didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you speak to your application as far as what it is you're looking for and what you have?
Yeah. So I have I'm seeking a short-term rental special use permit. The area is in the basement of my house with a separate entrance. I believe I've satisfied everything that you guys require to get to this point. So as long as the paperwork and the requirements are met on your end, then I believe I'm just waiting for approval on the special use permit.
So is this just one room or is it a kind of, I don't know.
No, it's just one room. So my basement, when I built the house 6 years ago, basement split in half, just to kind of give everyone a visual. So one half is unfinished garage, the other half was a finished room with a full bathroom. So in that room is a full bathroom. It's kind of like a studio setup where it's one bathroom, which is separate. I mean, its own room, but then the bed TV area is in the main part of the room, center of the room.
Pretty much it's a studio.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
I can't tell from looking at the plan. Are there windows in that space?
Yeah. So there's, like I said, it has its own entrance, driveway level. So you can when you pull up to the house, you basically can park next to your front door. That's driveway level, go in. So you have that. And then you have, a egress window to the left of the door when you walk in.
Okay, I see it now.
Which wouldn't be required because there's a door there. It opens the grade.
Gotcha. Okay.
He's good.
Okay. And it's a good question.
These are the building plans.
They are stamped. Okay, we didn't see it. It wasn't on the board. So. All right. Well, this is pretty straightforward. I mean, so you're only allowing one
or two
people to stay there in the room for the most part.
It's limited to 2, yes.
Easy.
Okay. Open and shut on that one. Any questions? Staff, board?
Nothing.
Nobody has anything? I'm gonna open a public hearing.
Need a motion?
That's what I need. I need a motion.
Second.
Second, public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Public hearing's open. We're gonna keep you open till next week and we'll go from there unless you want to ask somebody from the. I'll ask somebody from the public if they have to speak or against the project. Anyone? Anyone in Zoom land?
There is
Seeing
no.
none?
There is no one Zoom line.
Okay, so we'll just.
If not, can I just add one thing?
You might ruin it. But go
No,
ahead.
it's going to do the opposite, I think. No, I know you guys deal with a lot and a lot of this STR stuff. So coming from a resident that's, things are tight. So things like this help. And we appreciate you guys taking the time to look into this stuff and doing it the right way. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, we appreciate that, but we will say that it's all on you, because if your neighbors start complaining and there's any issues, they're gonna come to you, they're gonna come to the town, they're gonna complain, and you will not have the permit anymore. So it's really all on you. Do the right thing. Make sure you've got a sign outside that says what it is that you're doing as far as an STR there. Make sure your property's bordered so that people aren't straying off to the neighbors. All of the requirements that we've stated numerous times, which the board can help me out a little bit, I don't remember all of them. But just make sure that you are doing your share of what's right, so the neighbors don't complain.
Yeah, if you knew Mr. Law, Ryan, this is Dave Barton, if you knew Mr. Law, he's not gonna put up with much.
No.
Yeah, the people who rent to will, it'll be dressed by dress.
Okay, but it's a short term, it's not an apartment that you're renting out.
That's right.
Correct. Yep.
Just so we keep that good too. So, I don't see anything other than, I'll push this off till next week and we'll see if there's anyone else.
That's fine. And we'll have a resolution ready.
And we'll have the resolution ready for them. Work good with that? Yeah. So, all right, thank you, Mr. Law, appreciate it.
Thank you for the insight. Appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is Sean and Mary Coakley. Am I saying your name correct? I apologize, I butcher your name sometimes. But the application, supporting documents have been circulated to the board. And if you could, come on up and speak to your application. State your name.
I'm Sean Coakley, also known as Sean.
And I'm Mary Coakley.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about it. Just, is it one big house is what you're?
Yes.
Yes, so we actually live in Yonkers and we've had it over 20-something years. We've normally been coming up here as many weekends as possible, but sometimes I walk in the city all the time and I do 24-hour service. I'm a licensed master plumber. And it's kind of hard for me to get up and down as much as I used to be able to, as things get a little bit further. So rather than the house being empty, and we're always kind of nervous that in case somebody breaks in or anything like that, we're not going to be there as much, whatever. Even though we put cameras on the exterior of it, so we figured let's try something else, whatever.
Okay. So it's a 4-bedroom home?
Correct, yeah.
So you would have no more than 8 people? I can't read what I believe it's a 7 people.
Six.
Put through them?
Yeah.
6, I guess, yeah, yes.
Okay, we'll make sure that's straight in the application, so we know what we've got, but you're good up to 8, I guess it is for the amount of bedrooms, yeah.
Oops.
Yes,
Yep, we're good.
you have somebody that maintains the property?
Yeah, we have landscapers that do the landscaping. We have somebody to take care of the pool and the box pools, take care of that. We have a person that comes in and meet and greet, so when the people come in, they meet them. When they leave, they meet them. They also are there to in case there's any issue, whatever.
Maintenance or something?
She takes care of maintenance, everything else like that, and the house cleaning.
And how far away do they live?
I think she doesn't pick up seat.
So it's within
Within
certain
the distance, yeah.
as long as it's not on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
Not Yonkers.
Okay.
No,
I think we did give her address and everything, so you have all her.
Okay.
And she checks their ID and she checks to make sure that they are the people that rent them.
Okay. And anything else from the board? Because this one seemed pretty good too after reviewing it, so. Anybody? Nothing? Jerry? You look like you got something. Come on.
Need to be stamped. Plans.
Not,
I mean,
Maybe I should, after this, head over to executive session.
okay. So I'm gonna ask Dave, when you go in, we haven't normally had stamp plans for these, getting you up to speed on this. Because it's a property that's been there and they're not asking for anything else, other than somebody else pretty much using their property.
That's are we doing it or not?
Well,
Stamp plans or not stamp plans?
not in this case. If
No,
they
yeah,
were,
typically you have not asked them for short-term rentals.
we have not one.
For accessory apartments, multifamily, that kind of thing, you have. Again, these are all buildings that already have a CO.
Yeah.
Accessory apartment would not,
Require
yeah, so.
It's-
That answers it. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's a good question.
it is your
You're not
purview,
asking some.
it's your purview to ask, but these are all, everything you've seen so far has been an existing building.
It's pretty much your house is already there. So it's already been passed. Somebody else can stay there if you're not there, so we wouldn't require.
And that's, and we also do the extra inspection
That's what I.
to make sure that
Usually up
to make sure it's, just to make sure that it is where we want it to be safe wise.
Right.
Where's 241 Chapel Road? How far in from which end?
It would probably be really halfway actually, between the gas station and, where the new light is being put in by the car dealer or whatever it is.
It'll be on the
Yeah.
south side, north side?
It would be on this south side, yeah.
Past Bella?
Yeah.
Yep,
No.
not too far past.
All right, so we're, I don't know of any other things, and as we've stated many different times with the SDR. The SDR, what we would always suggest is bordering out your property, at least showing them where the border is, taking it, doing something so that your clients know where they're supposed to be going, not veering off into somebody else's property, which is always the question, we always wanna make sure. There's that, and then there's a sign that states where that house is and what it is, SDR, blah, 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 so we're good, you have ample parking in the driveway?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a stucco driveway. there.
Yeah, it's a nice piece of property.
Got it. You guys help me out, I kinda get.
Yeah, so their house rules have complied with everything, including the water watcher. It's a nice driveway, nice house. We've done the fire safety inspection there.
Yep.
You know, it's a good use.
Okay, well, I would ask, anyone else from the board got anything?
No.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Take your pick, Sarah.
Yeah,
They all said it.
flip a coin.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing's been open, and do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf or against the project? Anybody?
Okay.
Anybody in Zoom land?
There is nobody in Zoom land. It's just us.
Do we have to keep this open until next week, Scott?
Absolutely, that's what we're gonna do, we're gonna keep it up until next week. And, like I said, just make sure that everything that, again, this thing's only good as long as you guys are good, so. If you get a lot of complaints from the neighbors, it's gonna come back to bite you, that's all we can say. Great, great, even better. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Coulter, appreciate it. Thank you. You won't need to be here next week, I think we pretty much can go over the resolution and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right?
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Say again? It's not this week. Next week. I always do it, it's a workshop meeting. So. I have nothing else on the agenda. Is there anything else? I see someone from the public here. What can I help you with? Or what can we help you with? Did you just come in? Did you have nothing to do on Thursday night? No.
I have a concern. But
Well, come on up here and speak if you don't mind. I normally, still public hearing, you can speak.
Maybe I shouldn't be, maybe I should be speaking to the building inspector, I don't know, but anyway, I live on Impulse Road.
Yeah. 85 Impulse Road.
I've lived there for over 40 years. My property has a right of way right in the front of my house. And somebody bought property that was landlocked behind me, and he is throwing gravel down next month. He's making it into a driveway. Years ago, about 20-something years ago, John Delcato also wanted to do this. He also has property. He also has a right of way to that. And he was told no. He was told no by the town. And by me, it was a big to-do between John and myself. I don't know why this man is doing this. I don't know the rules. I don't, if he has the right to do it. I don't know if he can he take down old stone walls that have been there? Has anybody actually walked that property? Because years ago, the person who came out said there's no way a fire truck can get in there.
Just so we can do this, so you understand, it's
Okay.
out of our purview, you're gonna have to talk to the building department. And we don't have anything to go by other than what you're saying, we don't have any prints, we don't have anything that's here, there's not been an application before us, I don't know even how to answer you. Other than what he may be able to do on his time during the day, or maybe you can talk to him after the meeting.
Make an appointment with you or?
Yeah.
We can talk in a minute.
What's that?
We can talk in a minute.
Yeah, when we're all done, you can talk,
All right.
you know, if you choose. to when we're all done, you can talk, you know, if you choose to talk, that's fine. He's a guy.
Yeah, he's not the nicest guy, I know.
Yeah, he's kind of. Oh, fine, sorry, I wish I could help you out. Sure. So I think we're all set, guys. Is there anything you guys want to talk about? Anything new? Anything?
Scott, am I looking at an old agenda? Was there no administrative business left? That
Well,
was,
I gotta check, but maybe, you know what, I'm flopping.
Welcome was removed and I never updated the website.
okay, got it.
So there's that.
Okay.
Something else, gentlemen?
The only thing I would ask, Scott, is I had an issue getting onto the call today, and I don't know why the invitation wasn't sent around. And so I had to call in, and while I called in, I could not be heard. So I had to figure out how to get into the Zoom. So it was just frustrating, that's all.
Well, I go through the same thing with town board meetings too, to be honest.
They're all on the website.
They are, but I try to get
That's
on.
how I was able to get it, but I wasn't able to link into it. And that was
That's what honestly, I try to get in the town board meetings and I can't.
Yeah, we
It's
don't,
happened 3 times. I know you guys.
we don't like the public at the,
Okay, and that did seem to be an issue because, like I said, I tried it 3 times. I end up watching them on the YouTube instead. But if Bill does that, he won't be able to participate.
yep.
That
Well,
was the issue.
we will circulate it. No worries.
All right.
You guys don't mind, I would like to,
Oh, we have another gentleman here who wants to speak. It's public hearing time.
I'm Josh Murphy, I live in Highland here, I was telling you guys, I think, 2 weeks ago maybe. I'm only here just for informational purposes, I heard there were some of the SDR approvals, and that's my long-term goal for what I was applying for, but I'm starting with the accessory apartment. Just to take advantage of the opportunity, I just wanted to ask the question, what red flags or what might stop my process if I'm going accessory apartment to STR? What could the neighbors potentially do to stop me from doing that? Because I won't necessarily move forward with this accessory apartment.
I'll stop you too, just like I did the last people. So, with all due respect, it's nothing in front of us. We can't tell you. We can point you in the direction, and my idea of pointing you in the right direction would be go ahead and see what you're gonna need to have to fill out. As far as what could happen, people are gonna say they like it, some people are gonna say they don't like it. So it's up in the air at that point.
It's not just based on their opinion, though.
Oh, no.
Like legal.
No, it's an allowed use in the zones where it's allowed. Do you mind?
No.
Yeah, okay, so it's allowed use in the zones where it is allowed. The board reviews it based on its merit, and the merit is driven by the regulations that are baked into the SDR code. This board and the other members who are not here have been very particular about making sure they stick to that piece. My advice, and this is the advice that I would give you if we were reading up in my office, would be to make sure that your application does comply precisely with the regulations in the code. And if that's the case, the board will review it favorably. Regardless.
Stamp drawings.
Yeah, and when the neighbors come in and they say I mean, we've heard it, the board has heard it many times. People will be concerned that people will come and camp and throw these wild parties. But baked into the regulations are things like the noise ordinance, where you can't make noise after 9 p.m. during the week and after 8 p.m. on the weekends. So, just make sure that you dot the i's and cross the t's, follow the regulations, and submit. The accessory apartment can't be more than 650 square feet. Are you aware of that?
No, but I'm below that.
Okay, so, other than that, it should be relatively straightforward.
That's what I'm hearing, I just want to.
Stamp drawings, like say that you don't wanna see anything.
That's already done, and, yep. Yeah, just before I make a final big investment, I want to make sure.
Sure.
we keep up with that.
Great, I hopefully Dave helped you. Again, you'll be the first one today. Thank you.
This week.
This week, you're doing great. And sorry, we couldn't answer your questions on that, but you understand where we're at. Thank you, Mr. Murphy, appreciate it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, we're out. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Good night, everybody.
Are you still away, though?
I am in La Paz.
You're killing me.
I love La Paz.
9 degrees in Mexico. So he's allowed to do that.
Do you want somebody to come visit you?
To town, along with the neighbor whose name I cannot remember.
Bill?
No longer lives there. Especially about the, he and down roads like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So John.
Paul, go ahead.
Spitzaden, got the benefit of the, court case.
Is Paul trying to talk?
Because the town board was ultimately forced to give them what's called an ODA, open
Yeah.
development area.
Good night.
In New York State, it's illegal for me to go building permit unless you're a frontage on an approved state, county, or town road.
Yeah.
Unless you apply for an open development area to the town board, and this is long before I got here, so I came into. I experienced John Delicato, after all that, and I'm thankful for that, because I heard it was.
So that's what I mean, when we heard this, I said, 25 years ago.
It was, I heard it was brutal.
Here.
Yeah.
This guy.
He already has. Someone's already granted an open development area for all those land in the back. John doesn't have a big name, I don't think. All of the value is built into the land, that beautiful lot. Cabin, a shed or whatever it is.
Now we.
I don't know if he's gonna go, he's never building a house there. So, but they are already,
And I've heard
the town board's already,
outside.
again, before me, granted them the development area.
Most consistent.
So that a building permit could be issued for those lots.
It's not
The
swaying.
fire department has weighed in on
And
that
that was the
driveway
reason
that he wants to put in, because the house is gonna
That was
be
good old boy network.
up the hill. And my concern when I sent it to the fire department was, good luck dragging loads of hose up that hill. He's only proposing a tiny house. So the fire department didn't get a major concern. The driveway will be filled.
And we.
Fire apparatus.
Because.
And there'll be a turnaround for the fire truck that's on the whole.
Has anybody actually walked all the way back there? I mean, they're still.
Oh, snakes.
I know, back there.
We had, Pete Miller has driven
Something
into the back, I don't know how deep he went, just to confirm, where it was going and so on and so forth, he said fire chief. So that's all I know.
That's the other part.
That's all I know.
Do you know, does he have the right to take down like?
So if he owns the land.
I thought that's what he told us.
To the land that owns, he has the right.
Yeah, that's behind Spitzaden's property.
No, well, that's behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Behind his property that he used.
Go ahead. If you own a piece of land and the stone walls on it was, then are not property bounded. You can remove those walls. If the property boundary, there's a whole process that confirms the lot line, where the line is, according to the legal description, on that wall. Because in the old days, it was.
My thought was.
This way to the old oak tree.
Would he have to get approval from people that own those rock walls, like John on one side, and then the people that. And then the people that.
So it's easement here. I don't know how the easement reads. Typically, easements are for, passage on, or passage in utility. I have no idea what the easement reads, but knowing how that all played out, I'm gonna guess it's only for passage. So I don't think he'd be able to remove it.
Does he have to drop going into the?
But that's, I'm not an attorney. I wouldn't.
Are we off the air?
Which one on the piece?
Yeah,
off the
so-
air?
Yeah, we did. I don't know.
That was my.
So who comes out and makes sure that?
I think it's wider than that. I think we do 13 feet for apparatus. The truck itself is 11.5. Edge wheels.
Email from him today.
But of course, it's 90,000 pounds. Water.
He said.
So.
That or the square footage, remember last time?
Well, I'm sorry, to answer your question, come out. And we'll be dragging the town engineer to confirm that, the space will be recorded.
And.
After the ground's down.
After it's down.
Square foot, not the SDR.
Because we all assume unless it's, actually literally soaking wet, so that it will support it for 15,000. Oh, behind it is all wet, I know. The whole mountain's full of water.
You make sure the back mountain response, you correct.
Every time you dig over it.
My fear, and
She didn't know, it was his
you
wife.
talked to him, he's a really nice guy,
And I felt bad.
that,
Yeah.
he's nice.
We knew.
You know him? Sneaky.
We've met him,
Yeah.
I don't.
That's what that is.
Gabriel. But again, they're only, the house is.
Under the stairs.
That would almost always be the time, and here, because now we're putting in a driveway that's gonna access.
that's what you asked, listen, I never, you
He's
stop me.
but he- he's
Oh, I just.
Yeah, we know you do. So
Yeah,
now.
but I know what I'm doing, I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, well, what is there really to this? But it's
Land
not
back.
my decision.
No, I'm saying that John passed and he gave his
Yeah,
land
but
to his kids.
I mean, John,
Yes.
so my experiences with John, he has this kind of love-hate with the easement he has. The path to go to the south. The primary way he gets to that. thing back.
When I first came to the planning board,
Yeah.
and Fred, you were here,
Yeah.
and I said, wait.
Yeah, but there's a long, it's not even a, sometimes, an easement for 5 months. So you and I have been traveling this easement forever and ever. It's not written down anywhere in the deed, but we've been doing it. Therefore, it perpetuates for the future. John actually has needed right away to those properties in the back. I can't imagine anybody else or anyone in the city go there, because that's actually an improved drive. And Lowly does a nice job and stuff. I took over that lot across the street. It's so much better than I had before. I can't tell you.
For what reason?
Well, John originally wanted
And he's
that.
gonna keep renting it
What I'm
out.
talking
Have you
about,
not
that's what
seen
I'm
that?
saying. How come John couldn't?
John can't.
Well, now-
That's why I did it public.
Yes, I don't know when, again, before me, I don't know when the court case
No, I
ended.
think, I mean.
I just know what the fallout was of it, and the ODA is granted, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
About it.
I know, if this guy gets it in there, John's gonna
Yes.
be glutton because.
But John's aware, I mean, he
John's
could.
aware.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
You know how
a
it happens.
benefit.
I'll tell you a perfect example, it was,
Sometimes you fall into shit, sometimes you fall
Carl, he
into
did the
money.
accessory apartment, he did all.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know it's,
All the stuff's in a row,
I
we
can-
got here.
I can sense your
That's why when I see something.
apprehension.
And they don't
I
have.
don't
it, I'm like,
see, you know, construction equipment go in there.
Oh, I think it's just gonna be a flatbed, I think it's literally a box.
Here was blank
What he's proposed to us,
Do it.
he's literally gonna have a small box.
Have plans been submitted already?
It was only conceptual when he came to see us originally, but it's literally, I don't think it's 100 square feet. On the ground.
Well, yeah, there's.
He's not- it's a good house. Probably for house. What's the little house there? I couldn't.
I knew that she knew you.
I have enough trouble with my wife and 1,500 square feet, yeah. I don't think I could do 500 with her.
Yeah. And I said, look, I.
All right.
He's already got the guy across the street with the gravel all set up to go.
Oh, yeah.
All the big, I walked in from the house all the way back, and she's got a well house that has some electric.
I do.
set up. So. when-
Zamarilla.
No, not Zimmerman, Zemiel.
That-
Yeah, good guy.
Absolutely.
Got
whitewashed
Biden for
inside,
Lynn's property
and
right now.
Beautiful. And I thought
Gabriel
it
said,
was
you know, he's already
But,
spoken,
like,
you know, he's
here's the
gonna
long pipe.
probably late.
We're looking playing pretty well.
But I mean, it's right behind
It's
our,
not doing it like
like,
another bench.
if we look at it back.
Does that even cross your property? Does the easement actually cross your property?
We own our
Yeah.
property goes
Yeah.
into that right way.
I see.
It's our
The one was set up for
property, and next door, there's some guy using it.
Yeah.
They have part of it and we have the other part.
I see.
So
I got you.
it's kind of, you know.
It's in your backyard. I get it.
It's in my front yard.
I get it. I get it. I do.
All right, we try.
Deep breaths.
I know.
Enjoy the woods.
It's not worth getting.
Yeah, I don't think either will be an issue. You're right about, I mean, John and I, we bumped heads several times. Yeah, he could be,
You got a few hours. We can.
he could be interesting.
Very much.
We know very well.
All right.
Y'all have a good night. Happy to see you phone going.
What's, where is it? ST, huh?
Short-term rental. Yeah, so Airbnb, that kind of
You
thing.
guys are saying STR, that's the